Good morning and welcome to the Committee on Ways and Means. Committee Secretary, will you please call the roll?
Assembly members Anderson, Backus, Brown May, Dickman, Hafen, Hibbets, Howdigi, Koenig, Mosca, O'Neill, Torres Fawcett, Watts, Yeager, and Chair Monroe Moreno.
And I am here. Good morning and welcome to those that got a nap with the rest of us because I saw a lot of the faces in the audience all weekend long. So thank you for your endurance with us. Today we have a long list of bills to be heard, but we have an even longer list of bills that we are going to work session. And we are going to start with the work session bills first before we move into bill hearing so we can move things to the floor, and then we will come back and do more work sessioning. We will have public comment at the end of today's meeting, and when I say the end of today's meeting, that will probably be closer to 8 or 9 o'clock tonight. That number is 669-900-6833. The meeting ID is 824-860-94023. Then please press pound. I'll remind everyone, members, folks joining us in the audience, to either turn off your electronic devices or mute them. Remind folks that this is the fiscal hearing. The bills that we hear in here have had their policy hearing, so we aren't discussing policy unless in some way it directly impacts the fiscal aspects and members need more explanation of how that policy affects that fiscal aspect of the bill. I'll also remind folks that I expect professional, polite, and courteous behavior in our interactions with each other. Sometimes we hear things that we don't like or don't agree with, but we can be kind to one another and not be disagreeable. If you choose not to be kind, and even a member on the dais, I will kindly have you removed from my committee room. So, with that, we will start with our work session, and as I said, it's kind of a long list of bills for work session. And the first bill on, no, we will start with the BDR introduction, because while I sat here, we got a BDR. So members, we have a BDR, and I will remind you that your vote today on this BDR does not implicate or indicate that you will be voting in favor of this measure as it enters the bill process. It's simply allowing it to enter the bill process. So we have BDR S1247, which makes appropriations for the implementation of certain collective bargaining agreements. With that, any questions? Not seeing any, I'll accept a motion.
So moved. Second.
We have a motion from Assembly Member Backus, a second from Assembly Member Howdigi. Any discussion on the motion? Not seeing any. All in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
And the motion carries. Now moving on to our work session. The first bill on our work session will be Assembly Bill 52.
Thank you, Madam Chair. For the record, Sarah Kaufman, Legislative Council Bureau Fiscal Analysis Division. Assembly Bill 452 was heard by the committee on May 23rd. Assembly Bill 52, as amended, requires electronic claims to be approved or denied and paid within 21 days, and non-electronic claims within 30 days. There were several fiscal notes that were provided on the bill as introduced. However, with the amendment, there's a conceptual amendment that was provided on May 21st by the majority leader, and that makes the effective date change from July 1st to January 1st, 2026. In sections 2, 3, 4, 6, or 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 14, 15, 16, and 18. The provisions of this section do not apply to managed care organizations when participating in Medicaid under NRS 422.273, and the provisions of the section do not apply to entities who provide health insurance to their employees under the Public Employees Benefits Program. Madam Chair, with that conceptual amendment, there was testimony that the fiscal impacts associated with PEB and Medicaid would be removed. So it would be an amend and do pass as amended.
Members, any questions? Seeing none, I'll accept a motion. We have a motion from Assemblymember Bacchus, a second from Assemblymember Hadigi. Any discussion on the motion? Not seeing any. All in favor, please say aye. Aye. Any opposed? And the motion carries, and I'll assign the floor statement to Assemblymember Hadigi.
Thank you.
The next item on our work session agenda is Assembly Bill 163.
Thank you, Madam Chair. For the record, Brody Lizer with the Fiscal Analysis Division. Assembly Bill 163 was heard on May 23rd and was presented by Minority Leader Hafen. Assembly Bill 163 ratifies and enters into the counseling compact that allows a person who is a licensed professional counselor in a state that is a member of the compact to practice as a licensed professional counselor in other compact member states through telehealth or in person under certain conditions and after meeting certain requirements. Madam Chair, there was a proposed amendment presented at the bill hearing. That amendment would update the effective date in Section 5 from July 1st, 2025 to January 1st, 2026. And regarding the fiscal impacts, the State Board of Examiners for Marriage, Family, Therapists, and Clinical Professional Counselors did submit a fiscal note on the bill reflecting revenue loss in fiscal years 26 and 27. And I believe that the proposed amendment would delay the impacts to those revenue amounts, as well as allow time for the board to plan for the implementation of this. So, Madam Chair, if you wish, the motion here would be to amend and do pass.
Thank you so much. Members, any questions? Not seeing any, I'll accept a motion.
Move to amend and do pass. Second.
We have a motion from Assemblymember Bacchus, a second from Assemblymember Hadigi. Any discussion on the motion? Not seeing any. All in favor to amend and do pass, please say aye. Aye. Any opposed? And the motion carries. And we'll assign that floor statement to Assemblymember Hafen. Moving on to the next item in our work session agenda, it's Assembly Bill 165.
Madam Chair, Assembly Bill 165 was heard by the committee on May 21st. Assembly Bill 165, as amended, establishes the Outdoor Education Council within the Division of Outdoor Recreation of the State Department of Conservation and Natural Resources and prescribes the membership and duties of the council, including the development of standards of outdoor education programs provided by the school. There was one fiscal note related to this bill from the Division of Outdoor Recreation of the State Department of Conservation and Natural Resources. They had indicated that approximately $6,120 would be needed in each year to support travel expenditures associated with this. And so, Madam Chair, if you wish to move this bill and add the appropriations to the bill of $6,120, this would be an amend do pass as amended.
Members, any questions? Not seeing any, then I will accept a motion to amend and do pass as amended. We have a motion from Assembly Member Bacchus, a second from Assembly Member Hadigi. Any discussion on the motion? Seeing none, all in favor, please say aye. Aye. Any opposed? And the motion carries, and we'll assign that floor statement to Assembly Member Mosca. The next item on our work session agenda will be Assembly Bill 230.
Thank you, Madam Chair. Assembly Bill 230 was heard by the committee on May 22nd. Assembly Bill 230 ratifies and enters into the audiology and speech language pathology interstate compact. The compact establishes the Audiology and Speech Language Pathology Compact Commission and sets forth the powers and duties of the commission. Madam Chair, there were discussions as it relates to the potential of new fees that were provided. However, the testimony that was provided indicated that new fees would not be established for the foreseeable future, and there were no other fiscal notes. In addition, there were no amendments that were discussed for this bill, so if the committee wished to move this bill, it would be a do pass.
Thank you so much. Members, any questions? Not seeing any, I'll accept a motion.
Move to do pass. Second.
We have a motion from Assembly Member Bacchus, a second from Assembly Member Hadigi. Any discussion on the motion? Not seeing any. All in favor, please say aye. Aye. Any opposed? And the motion carries. And we'll assign that floor statement to Assembly Member Marzola. Moving on to our next work session item, it will be Assembly Bill 344.
Thank you, Madam Chair. For the record, Brody Leiser. Assembly Bill 344 was presented by Assemblymember Marzola on May 22nd. The bill, as amended, replaces the term master with judicial officer throughout Nevada revised statutes, establishes procedures for transferring child welfare proceedings between different courts in the state. The bill adds several factors for courts to consider when determining whether to transfer child welfare proceedings, requires an attorney to be appointed to represent indigent parents for child welfare proceedings unless good cause is shown, and establishes that appointed attorneys for these proceedings are entitled to the same compensation and expenses as the lowest rate paid to attorneys who are appointed for felony proceedings in the same jurisdiction. Madam Chair, there was a fiscal note for the Division of Welfare and Supportive Services in the amount of approximately $433,000 for costs associated with updating various forms. The agency did confirm that these costs could be supported 100% through federal child support enforcement program incentive grant revenues, and therefore no general fund would be necessary to support those costs. So, Madam Chair, if you wish, the motion here would be to do pass as amended.
Thank you so much. Members, any questions? Not seeing any, I'll accept a motion. We have a motion from Assembly Member Bacchus, a second from Assembly Member Hadigi. Any discussion on the motion? Not seeing any. All in favor, say aye. Aye. Any opposed? The motion carries. And we'll assign that floor statement to Assembly Member Marzola. The next item on our work session agenda would be Assembly Bill 375.
Thank you, Madam Chair. Assembly Bill 375 was heard in committee on May 23rd. Assembly Bill 375, as amended, authorizes the board and county commissioners of a county or a governing body of an incorporated city to enact ordinances to authorize under certain circumstances, or to authorize under certain conditions, covered food establishments to sell alcoholic beverages for consumption off-premise of the establishment. In addition, the bill requires the Department of Taxation to adopt regulations that provide for the collection of a surcharge not to exceed 50 cents for each retail sale of such beverage. And finally, the bill designates the pecan punch as the official state drink of the state of Nevada. Madam Chair, there were amendments. Section 5 of the bill would be changed of the effective date to passage and approval. In addition, there was another, an amendment that would be provided that would allow up to $250,000 of the surcharge revenue to be provided to the Department of Taxation in order to fulfill their fiscal impact. And the conceptual amendment also exempts the off-site consumption from the State Alcoholic Beverage Awareness Program for DETR to address the fiscal impact associated with that. There were also several policy, a couple policy amendments that were provided. There was amendment number 3, which there was the intent to ensure that the bill isn't to end around the licensing required for packaging liquor distribution. And then amendment number 4 was to add language that allows the craft distilleries to apply for permissible person certificates to purchase bulk neutral alcohol to make contracted liquor products. And I believe that was all of the amendments. So it would be an amend and do pass as amended if this were approved.
Thank you, members. There were a number of amendments on this bill. Are there any questions? Not seeing any, I'll accept a motion. We have a motion from Assembly Member Bacchus, a second from Assembly Member Hodeggy. Any discussion on the motion?
Chair.
Assembly Member Hafen?
Thank you, Chair. And I appreciate all the work that went into this. I'm going to vote yes today, but reserve my rights pending the outcome of the numerous amendments. I think it's in the right direction, but I do want to reserve my rights just to flesh out the amendments. Thank you.
Thank you. Anyone else?
Ditto. Thank you,
Assembly
Chair.
Member Dickman?
Ditto. Thanks.
Thank you. Assembly Member Hibbets?
What he said.
Thank you so much. See no other discussion. We have a motion and a second. All in favor of the motion, please say aye. Aye. Any opposed? And the motion carries, and we'll assign that floor statement to Assembly Member Bacchus. The next item on our work session agenda is Assembly Bill 405.
Thank you, Madam Chair. For the record, Brody Lizer, Assembly Bill 405 was presented on May 23rd by Assembly Member Flanagan. This bill requires the Director of the State Department of Agriculture to establish a program to assist in the development of community gardens and urban farms in areas of the state with high levels of food insecurity. The bill also authorizes the Director to apply for and accept any gifts, donation, bequest, grant, or other source of money for the purpose of funding the program. There was a fiscal note submitted by the Department of Agriculture to fund a contract program officer 3 position to implement and maintain the program on the bill as introduced. Assemblymember Flanagan, during the bill hearing, presented a proposed amendment that would actually create a study during the interim to evaluate the landscape of the state utilizing tools established in legislation to determine an effective pathway toward building a sustainable statewide network to address food insecurity. During the bill hearing, Director Goycochea of the Department of Agriculture did testify that with the proposed amendment, they would be willing to remove their fiscal note to evaluate this and address this, what comes out of the study during the interim. So, Madam Chair, if you wish, the motion here would be amend and do pass.
Thank you so much. Members, any questions? Not seeing any, I'll accept a motion.
Move to amend.
We have a motion from Assembly Member Bacchus, a second from Assembly Member Hadigi. Any discussion on the motion? Not seeing any. All in favor, please say aye. Aye. Any opposed? And the motion carries, and we'll assign that floor statement to Assembly Member Flanagan. The next item on our work session agenda will be Assembly Bill 444.
Thank you, Madam Chair. Assembly Bill 444 was heard by the committee on May 24th. The bill, as amended, imposes certain requirements for notifying chambers of commerce and trade associations when a state agency, officer, or employee who is subject to the Nevada Administrative Procedures Act is determining the impact of a proposed regulation on small business, and specifies that these state entities must include certain information in the small business impact statement, such as the number of small businesses likely to be affected by the proposed regulation. With regards to the fiscal impact, the Department of Business and Industry boards and commissions had indicated that with the amendment, it removed its fiscal impact, as well as the Department of Administration. They had identified that the fiscal impact could not be determined. Madam Chair, there was a small amendment that was proposed for this bill, and that relates to Section 3, 1A of NRS 237.060 to read as follows. Rules mean A, an ordinance by the adoption of which the governing body of a local government exercises legislative powers and instead of or. And with that, Madam Chair, there are no other amendments, so this would be an amend do pass as amended if approved.
Thank you so much, Ms. Kaufman. Members, any questions? Not seeing any, I'll accept a motion. We have a motion from Assembly Member Bacchus, a second from Assembly Member Hadigi. Any discussion on the motion? Not seeing any. All in favor, please say aye. Aye. Any opposed? And the motion carries, and we'll assign that floor statement to Assembly Member Hafen. The next item on our work session agenda is Assembly Bill 462.
Thank you, Madam Chair. For the record, Brody Leiser. Assembly Bill 462 was presented by Vice Chair Bacchus on May 22nd. The bill is amended, revises the Inland Port Authority Act to authorize the creation, operation, and maintenance of industrial parks and industrial park authorities, renaming the statute the Inland Port and Industrial Park Authority Act. Allows participating entities to adopt ordinances creating tax increment areas within inland ports or industrial parks to finance specified infrastructure projects, and authorizes municipalities to issue bonds or other securities for these purposes. In addition, AB 462 modifies the Teacher Academy College Pathway Program by requiring dual credit coursework that enables students to earn at least 12 college credits aligned with a teaching degree. The bill, as amended, also creates a new state seal of teacher training to be affixed to diplomas and transcripts of pupils who complete the program. The bill also mandates that school districts offering career pathway programs at high schools provide corresponding career exploration opportunities at feeder middle school and junior high schools. A new Career Pathways Oversight Committee is created within the Department of Education to establish performance metrics, evaluate progress, and recommend agency oversight. Madam Chair, the Department of Education did submit a fiscal note of approximately $564,000 over the biennium for 2 full-time positions to support the program, plus costs for materials and design for the state seal. Vice Chair Backus did present and discuss a proposed amendment that would do various things, including removing the seal from the license. The amendment would amend Section 19, Sub 1, to state that the treasurer, in conjunction with the Department of Education, shall establish by regulation a program to provide reimbursement for tuition charges. So that would just add collaboration with the Department of Education. The amendment strikes certain language from Section 22 and also amends Section 24 of the bill and adds some language to Section 25 of the bill. Both the Department of Education and the Nevada System of Higher Education during the bill hearing testified that with the proposed amendment, there would be no fiscal impacts to either of those entities. There was also, I apologize, there also was testimony during that bill hearing from Stephen Wood with the Governor's Office of Economic Development that there had been discussions with the Department of Taxation relating to the tax increment area, and confirmed that any impact for the Department of Taxation could be removed from the bill. So if the chair, if you wish, the motion here would be to amend and do pass as amended. And I think if I missed anything, the sponsor of the bill right behind me will certainly clarify.
As I'm sure she would. Members, any questions? Not seeing any, I'll accept a motion.
I'd move to amend and do pass as amended. Second.
We have a motion from Assemblymember Backus, a second from Assemblymember Hadigi. Any discussion on the motion? Not seeing any. All in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? The motion carries, and we'll assign that floor statement to Assemblymember Backus. Moving on to our next item on our work session agenda is Assembly Bill 474.
Thank you, Madam Chair. Assembly Bill 474, as amended, was heard in committee on May 24th. The bill requires the Division of Welfare and Supportive Services of the Department of Health and Human Services to establish and carry out a program to the extent funding is available to supplement the food supply to recipients of the Supplemental Nutrition Assistance Program by identifying surplus foods and distributing it to SNAP recipients at a discount. The bill as amended authorizes the administrator of the division to take any action necessary to obtain federal authorization to carry out this bill. Madam Chair, there is an appropriation in Section 7 of $5 million to the new surplus food assistance account, and there are no proposed amendments to the bill.
Thank you so much. Members, any questions? Not seeing any, I'll accept a motion.
Madam Chair. Oh, do pass as amended. Second.
We have a motion and a second, a motion from Assemblymember Bacchus, a second from Assemblymember Hadigi. Any discussion on the motion? Not seeing any, all in favor, please say aye. Aye. Any opposed? The motion carries, and I'll assign that floor statement to myself. Thank you for your patience with us. We're moving on. The next item on our work session agenda is Assembly Bill 475.
Thank you, Madam Chair. For the record, Brody Leiser. Assembly Bill 475 was presented by Chairman Moreno on April 4th. The bill is introduced, appropriates general funds of $18 million to Clark County and $7 million to the city of Reno for eviction diversion programs. The total appropriations of $25 million were not included in the governor's recommended budget in this bill. There was discussion during the bill hearing on a proposed amendment from Washoe County that would amend language in section 2 of the bill that would require the city of Reno to also serve residents of unincorporated Washoe County and the city of Sparks through the appropriation. In addition to that amendment, the chair and bill sponsor has requested an amendment to reduce the overall appropriation in the bill from $25 million to $21 million. That $21 million would be broken out as follows. $15 million would go to Clark County, let me state that again. The appropriation to Clark County would be reduced from $18 million to $15 million. The appropriation for the city of Reno would be reduced from $7 million to $5,250,000. And then there would be a new section added to the bill to appropriate $750,000 to address rural housing for the same purposes for eviction diversion programs, so that funding's available as well for rural areas of the state. Madam Chair, the motion here would be amend and do pass.
Thank you so much. Members, another bill with a few amendments this morning. Are there any questions? Not seeing any, I'll accept a motion.
Move to amend to do.
We have a motion from Assemblymember Bacchus, a second from Assemblymember Hadigi. Any discussion on the motion? Not seeing any. All in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? And the motion carries. And I will assign that floor statement to myself. Moving on to the next item on our work session agenda, it's Assembly Bill 476.
Thank you, Madam Chair. Assembly Bill 476 was heard by the committee on May 22nd. The bill makes an appropriation of $500,000 in each year of the 25 to 27 biennium to the Thomas and Mack Legal Clinic at the William S. Boyd School of Law for the University of Nevada, Las Vegas, to provide pro bono legal services. I would note that there was an amendment that was discussed during the hearing, and the amendment changes the appropriation to Thomas and Mack Legal Clinic at the William S. Boyd School of Law to just the University of Nevada, Las Vegas, for the purposes of providing the pro bono legal services, experimental legal education, and student success. In addition, there was also another section that was requested in Section 1 to allow the sums appropriated to be available in each fiscal year. And Madam Chair, I believe that was the only amendment for this bill. So if you wish to approve it, it would be an amend do pass.
Thank you so much. Members, any questions? Not seeing any, I'll accept a motion. We have a motion from Member Bacchus, a second from Assemblymember Hadigi. Any discussion on the motion? Not seeing any. All in favor, please say aye. Aye. Any opposed? And the motion carries, and we'll give that floor statement to Assemblymember Watts. Moving on to the next item on our work session agenda, it's Assembly Bill 483.
Thank you, Madam Chair. Brody Lizer for the record. Assembly Bill 483 was presented by Assemblymember Brown May on May 22nd. Assembly Bill 483 requires agencies and professional licensing boards that regulate the licensure or certification of providers of healthcare to establish a process for prioritizing the review of applications for licensure or certification if the applicant demonstrates that they will provide healthcare primarily in a historically underserved community. There was a fiscal note submitted on the bill as introduced by the Division of Public and Behavioral Health due to an increase in the workload and the elimination of the automatic renewal process for medical laboratory renewal applications. That fiscal note was approximately $346,000 in fiscal year 26 and $431,000 in fiscal year 27. The Department of Business and Industry Boards and Commissions also submitted a fiscal note of approximately $14,000 in fiscal year 26 related to relating to the work to modify or change regulations for the Nevada State Board of Athletic Trainers and Board of Dispensing Opticians. Assemblymember Brown May did discuss and presented a proposed amendment relating to excluding renewals and to apply the initial applications starting at the bill implementation. The Division of Public and Behavioral Health did confirm that with the proposed amendment, their fiscal note would be removed. So, Madam Chair, if you wish, the motion here would be amend and do pass.
Thank you so much. Members, any questions? Not seeing any, I will accept a motion.
Move to amend and do pass.
Second.
We have a motion from Assemblymember Bacchus, a second from Assemblymember Watts. Any discussion on the motion? Assemblymember Hafen.
Thank you, Chair. I'm going to vote yes out of committee, but reserve my rights. I still have some concerns with the census tracts that are being utilized, but that's more of a policy concern and not a fiscal concern, so therefore I will vote this out of committee. Thank you.
Thank you so much. Anyone else? Not seeing any further discussion, we have a motion and a second. All in favor, please say aye. Aye. Any opposed? And the motion carries, and we'll assign that floor statement to Assemblymember Brown May. The next item on our work session will be Assembly Bill 502.
Thank you, Madam Chair. Assembly Bill 502 was heard by the committee on May 23rd. The bill makes various changes relating to public works compliance and investigation. The bill revises provisions relating to the compliance of a contractor or subcontractor with certain requirements relating to apprentices on the Public Works project, revises provisions relating to the penalties for certain violations to be imposed by the Office of the Labor Commissioner. Madam Chair, there was a fiscal note that was provided by the Division of Business and Industries Office of Labor Commissioner. However, there was an unsolicited fiscal note after the bill was amended that was provided by the office, and they indicated that there is no longer a fiscal impact as the amendment addressed their concerns. And so, Madam Chair, if you wish to approve this, it would be a do pass as amended.
Thank you so much. Members, any questions? Not seeing any, I'll accept a motion.
Motion to do pass as amended. Second.
We have a motion from Assemblymember Bacchus, a second from Assemblymember Hadigi. Any discussion on the motion? Not seeing any. All in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? And the motion carries. We'll assign this floor statement to Assemblymember Koenig. The next item on our agenda will be Assembly Bill 539.
Thank you, Madam Chair. For the record, Brody Leiser, Assembly Bill 539 was presented by Vice Chair Backus on May 21st. Assembly Bill 539 as amended requires the Governor's Office of Workforce Innovation to establish a career coaching program in middle and junior high schools depending on available funding. There were no fiscal notes submitted on the bill, and there was a proposed amendment that was discussed that would modify language in section 1 of the bill to change under subsection 1 to strike the Governor's Office of Workforce Innovation and the word shall, and replace that with the Department of Employment Training and Rehabilitation may, as well as add a subsection that's, to the extent that money is available, the placement of career coaches in middle schools and junior high schools shall be prioritized to middle or junior high schools in zip codes having the highest rate of unemployment. So, Madam Chair, if you wish, motion here would be amend and do pass as amended.
Thank you so much. Members, any questions? Not seeing any. I'll accept a motion.
Move to amend.
We have a motion from Assemblymember Bacchus, a second from Assemblymember Hadigi. Any discussion on the motion? Not seeing any. All in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? And the motion carries, and we'll assign that floor statement to Assemblymember Bacchus. And moving on to the next item on our work session agenda will be Assembly Bill 553.
Thank you, Madam Chair. Assembly Bill 553 transfers the Division of Emergency Management from the Office of the Military to the Office of the Governor and makes conforming statutory changes. This is a budget implementation bill, and the corresponding budget decisions were approved by the money committees, and there are no recommended amendments associated with this bill. So, Madam Chair, if you wish to approve this, it would be a do pass.
Thank you so much. Members, any questions? Not seeing any. I'll accept a motion.
Move to do pass. Second.
We have a motion from Assemblymember Bacchus, a second from Assemblymember Hadigi. Any discussion on the motion? Not seeing any. All in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? And the motion carries, and we'll assign this floor statement to Assemblymember Dickman. Thank you. The next item on our work session agenda will be Assembly Bill 593.
Thank you, Madam Chair. Assembly Bill 593 makes a general fund appropriation of $53.4 million and a highway fund appropriation of $12.5 million to the Interim Finance Committee's contingency account in fiscal year 2026 for allocations to the Office of Finance and the Office of the Governor for costs associated with the implementation of the Enterprise Resource Planning System, also known as Core.NV. Madam Chair, there are no recommended amendments related to this bill, and so if the committee wished to move this, it would be a due pass.
Thank you so much. Members, are there any questions? Not seeing any, I'll accept a motion.
Move to do pass. Second.
We have a motion from Assemblymember Bacchus, a second from Assemblymember Hadigi. Any discussion on the motion? Not seeing any. All in favor, please say aye. Aye. Any opposed? And the motion carries, and we'll assign that floor statement to Assemblymember O'Neill. Moving on to the next item on our work session agenda will be Assembly Bill 356.
Thank you, Madam Chair. For the record, Brody Lizer. Assembly Bill 356 was presented by Chairman Ro Marino on May 12th. The bill, as amended, revises statutes relating to public employee collective bargaining and state budgeting. This includes under NRS 288.510, Governor must, when practicable, funding agreed upon in collective bargaining agreements must be included in the biennial proposed executive budget. There are timeline changes relating to collective bargaining, including that negotiations between the executive department and employee representatives must begin by April 1st. The date was previously October 1st. Arbitration must start by September 15th of an even-numbered year, and a decision must be rendered by December 5th of an even-numbered year. That was moved up from February and March of an odd-numbered year. It removes the ability to extend the arbitration deadline by mutual agreement. The bill also changes the date related to the economic forum. The forum must submit its economic projections and revenue estimates by November 15th of an even-numbered year. This was previously December 3rd, and this would be to provide earlier fiscal data to the governor and the legislature. Madam Chair, there were two fiscal notes submitted. One was by the Department of Administration, Human Resource Management, indicating a need for a new position to assist with the expedited negotiations of the collective bargaining agreements. The costs for that position would total $144,474 in fiscal year 2026, and $189,623 in fiscal year 27. In addition, the Governor's Finance Office submitted a fiscal note identifying a need for a new executive branch budget officer position to research and calculate the fiscal impacts of the collective bargaining requests. This particular request was submitted since negotiations would take place during a time when the Governor's Finance Office is currently preparing and working on the development of the executive budget. Related to the Governor's Finance Office position, total costs would be $142,566 in fiscal year 26 and $183,920 in fiscal year 27. So, Madam Chair, if you wish to fund the positions requested by the Department of Administration and the Governor's Finance Office, you could amend the bill to include general fund appropriations for support of those positions over the upcoming biennium. I would note that the Division of Human Resource Management is currently funded through assessments and charges that are allocated across state agencies. Since the rates to fund that budget have already been set and finalized in closing the budgets and drafting the Appropriations and Authorizations Act, general funds could be provided to the Division of Human Resource Management to fund the position for the upcoming biennium, with the expectation that the division fund that position using the internal cost allocation charges in the 27 to 29 biennium and going forward. And the motion here, if you were to do that, would be amend and do pass as amended.
Thank you, members. I know that was a lot, but the amendments, I believe, are necessary for this measure and the one-time appropriation of general funds for this bill. Are there any questions? Not seeing any. I'll accept a motion. We have a motion from Assemblymember Bacchus, a second from Assemblymember Hadigi. Any discussion on the motion? Not seeing any. All in favor, please say aye. Aye. Any opposed? And the motion carries, and I'll assign that for statement to myself. The next item The next item on our work session agenda will be Assembly Bill 117.
Thank you, Madam Chair. Assembly Bill 117 was heard in committee on April 4th. This Assembly Bill 117 requires the Department of Motor Vehicles to design, prepare, and issue special license plates indicating support for the Las Vegas Aces basketball team. The bill also establishes initial and renewal fees for the Las Vegas Aces special license plates, a portion of which must be contributed to Las Vegas Aces Foundation or its successor organization. Madam Chair, there was a proposed budget amendment that was submitted by the DMV, which strikes Section 9 of the bill, and there are no other amendments that are recommended for this. So if the committee wished to approve this, it would be a amend due pass.
Thank you so much. Members, are there any questions? Not seeing any, I'll accept a motion.
Move to amend and do pass.
We have a motion from Assemblymember Backus, a second from Assemblymember Hattigi. Any discussion on the motion? Not seeing any. All in favor, please say aye. Aye. Any opposed? The motion carries. I will assign that floor statement to Assemblymember Brown May. The next item on our work session is Assembly Bill 93.
Thank you, Madam Chair. Assembly Bill 93 was presented by Assemblymember Hibbets on May 16th. Assembly Bill 93 revises the definition of police officer to include certain school police officers, juvenile probation officers, bailiffs, and deputy marshals of municipal courts, marshals and deputy marshals of cities or towns, and all Category 1 peace officers for the purpose of certain benefits under the Nevada Occupational Diseases Act and certain other benefits and exemptions. The bill also provides that the use of certain designations for identification purposes by the Department of Public Safety, the divisions of the department, and employees of the department does not exclude certain employees of the department from the definition of police officer. Madam Chair, there was a fiscal note submitted by the Department of Public Safety that indicated would require the department to provide the cost for annual physicals for the Chief of Parole and Probation Division and all police officers in the Capitol Police Division. And the Division of Risk Management also provided a revised fiscal note based on the bill as amended, projecting a fiscal impact of to approximately $300,000 in each year of the 25-27 biennium. There were no proposed amendments to this bill, and I would just note, Madam Chair, that the Capitol Police Division is not funded with general funds. They are funded through transfers of building rent revenue from the Building and Grounds Division of the State Buildings and Grounds section of the State Public Works Division of the Department of Administration. And would also note that the Division of Risk Management is also a non-general funded agency. I believe that the impact to parole and probation, the general fund component, was less than $10,000, which is fairly minor considered in relation to their overall budget. And so, Madam Chair, you could choose to address the fiscal impacts through the bill, or given the non-general fund revenue sources for the two agencies, if needed, they could bring work programs forward during the interim, and there may be sufficient savings to allow the Division of Parole and Probation to absorb those costs. If not, they would have access to the contingency fund during the interim. And so if you wish to not address the fiscal notes, the motion here would be to do pass as amended.
Thank you, members, and thank you, Mr. Leiser, for the explanation of how this bill could move through. I believe, and please correct me if I'm wrong, that the general fund appropriation for DPS would need to be $44,793. annually to cover, that would be the general fund appropriation. It's correct if I look at the fiscal impact?
I believe that that cost is inclusive of both parole and probation as well as the Capitol Police Division. So I believe the general fund portion would be something less than that. Let me see if we have that.
Okay, so correction to that, so the general fund component would be 3,235 in FY 25-26 and 8,129 in FY 26-27 for the Department of Public Safety. And then in Fishery Biomes, it would be 16,258.
Okay, thank you, Madam Chair. Again, for the record, Brody Leiser. So if I understand, there's a desire to fund the fiscal impact, the general fund impact related to the Division of Parole and Probation. And so the amendment would add general fund appropriations of $3,235 in fiscal year '26 and general fund appropriations of $8,129 in fiscal year '27. And so the motion then would be to amend and do pass as amended.
Thank you so much. Members, any questions? And any questions on that general fund appropriation adding to this bill? All right, seeing none, I'll accept a motion. We have a motion from Assemblymember Bacchus, a second from Assemblymember Hadigi. Any discussion on the motion? Assemblymember Dickman.
Thank you, Chair. I still have some deciding to do on this one, so I'll be a yes, but I'd like to reserve.
Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Anyone else? All right, not seeing any. We have a motion and a second. All in favor of the motion, please say aye. Aye. Any opposed? The motion carries, and we'll assign that floor statement to Assemblymember Hibbets. Moving on to the next item on our work session agenda. One moment. All right, the next item on our work session agenda will be Assembly Bill 366.
Thank you, Madam Chair. Assembly Bill 366 was heard in committee on March 22nd. Existing law establishes the Nevada Supportive Housing Development Fund, and Assembly Bill 366 changes the designation of the fund to the Nevada Supportive Housing Development Account within the general fund and provides that any money remaining in the account at the end of the fiscal year does not revert and must be carried forward to the next fiscal year. I would note that in the bill, there is an appropriation of $20 million to the Nevada Supportive housing development account. During the hearing, there was discussion of a budget amendment to increase that amount to 25 million. However, in discussions with the chair, she has indicated that she would like to reduce that down from 25 million to 21 million. In addition, the amendment provides if for any reason the money is not allocated in the executive budget, the office of the governor shall submit a report to the legislature outlining the reasons why it will not be funded. And Madam Chair, I believe there was also in lines 2 and 3 deleted the words subject to the availability of funds appropriated for such purposes. And I believe that is the only amendment related to that bill. So if this were approved, it would be a amend to pass.
Thank you so much. Members, are there any questions on the bill, the amendment as presented today? Not seeing any, I'll accept a motion.
Move to amend and do pass. Second.
We have a motion from Assembly Member Backus, a second from Assembly Member Hadigi. Any discussion on the amendment? Not seeing any. All in favor, please say aye. Aye. Any opposed? And the motion carries, and I will sign that floor statement to myself. Moving on to the next bill on our work session, it will be Assembly Bill 409.
Thank you, Madam Chair. For the record, Brody Leiser. Sorry, I don't have my folder on this one, so hopefully but Assembly Bill 409 was presented by Minority Leader Hafen on May 23rd. The bill, as amended, requires the issuance of special license plates by the Department of Motor Vehicles to veterans of the Space Force and their spouses, parents, or children upon application. Bill also requires the DMV to issue special license plates honoring veteran recipients of the Air Force Cross, Coast Guard Cross, Distinguished Service Cross, and Navy Cross. In addition, the bill, there's my folder. It's funny how that happens. The bill also authorizes individuals to request the combination of personalized prestige plates with certain veteran-specific special license plates. The DMV did submit a fiscal note on this, however, it did not identify any dollar amounts but discussed programming costs. During the bill hearing, Sean Sever from the DMV confirmed that there would be no fiscal impact to the DMV, and Mr. Hafen did present a proposed conceptual amendment on this bill to add fallen military to section 1.5. So I believe that covers everything, Madam Chair. The motion here would be to amend and do pass as amended.
Members, any questions? Not seeing any, I'll accept a motion. We have a motion from Assembly Member Backus, a second from Assembly Member Hadigi. Any discussion on the motion? Not seeing any. All in favor, please say aye. Aye. Any opposed? The motion carries, and we'll assign that floor statement to Assembly Member Hafen. The next item on our agenda will be Assembly Bill 575.
Thank you, Madam Chair. Assembly Bill 575 was heard by the committee on May 19th. It makes an appropriation of $19 million from the State General Fund and $60,935 from the Highway Fund to the Department of Public Safety, over the 2025 to 2027 biennium. I would note that there was a proposed amendment that was provided to align the one-shot appropriations with the decisions that were made by the committee. And as such, the proposed amendment would reduce section 7 of the bill. Or excuse me, there would be an addition to section 7, so that would be a general fund appropriation to the Department of Public Safety in the sum of $462,748 for the replacement of computer network equipment and associated software. Section 8 would be highway fund appropriation to the Department of Public Safety in the sum of $283,620 for the replacement of computer hardware and software. And then section 15 would be amended to strike the words including the statewide registry of sex offenders and offenders convicted of a crime against a child in, and there's also language added that says additional positions to provide ongoing support, and it strikes the modernization project. The amounts in section 15 are recommended to be reduced from $4,872,000. Excuse me. That's not right. Let me just pull this up real quick. The amounts in section 15 would be $498,943 for fiscal year 2026 and $623,345 in 2027. And did I mess it up?
They added this, it's actually section.
Okay. Got it. I apologize, Madam Chair. I hadn't had the opportunity to look at this amendment prior to providing the work session. So the section 15 is replacing section 13. So that would be eliminating the $4,872,073 in section 13 and $6,567,406 in 2027 in section 13, and being replaced with the $498,943 in fiscal year 2026, and then $623,345 in 2027. And I believe that is it in terms of the amendments. So if you wish to approve it, it would be an amend do pass.
Thank you so much. Members, any questions on the amendments to Assembly Bill 575? Not seeing any, I'll accept a motion.
I'd move to amend and do pass. Second.
We have a motion from Assembly Member Backus, a second from Assembly Member Hadagi. Any discussion on the motion? Not seeing any. All in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? The motion carries, and we'll assign that for statement to Assembly Member Watts.
Thank you.
Thank you. The next item on our work session agenda will be Assembly Bill 567.
Thank you, Madam Chair. For the record, Brody Leiser. Assembly Bill 567 was presented by Chancellor Charlton of the Nevada System of Higher Education on May 19th. Assembly Bill 567 provides general fund appropriations of $11 million to the Nevada System of Higher Education for safety and security equipment and enhancements. And this is an appropriation that was included in the executive budget. Madam Chair, there are no presented amendments for this bill. Oh, if you wish, the motion here would be do pass.
Thank you so much. Members, any questions? Not seeing any, I'll accept a motion.
I move to do pass.
We have a motion from Assembly Member Bacchus, a second from Assembly Member Hadigi. Any discussion on the motion? Not seeing any. All in favor, please say aye. Aye. Any opposed? And the motion carries. And we'll assign that floor statement to Assembly Member Anderson. Next item on our agenda will be Assembly Bill 415.
Thank you, Madam Chair. Assembly Bill 415 was heard by the committee on May 14th. Assembly Bill 415 updates laws relating to the removal and disposal of abandoned vehicles in Nevada and allows certain persons to post a notice of unregistered, likely junk vehicles, warning that they may be removed and junked if not moved within 7 days, and inform the owners of their rights to request an expedited court hearing. Madam Chair, the fiscal impact related to this, the Department of Motor Vehicles did provide a fiscal impact of approximately $1,082 associated with the creation and distribution of new forms. However, I believe they testified that they could absorb those costs. And so, if approved, this would be a do pass.
All right, members, any questions? All right, not seeing any, I'll accept a motion. We have a motion from Assembly Member Bacchus, a second from Assembly Member Hadigi. Any discussion on the motion? Not seeing any, all in favor, please say aye. Aye. Any opposed? The motion passes, and we'll assign that floor statement to Assembly Member Carter. The next item on our work session agenda will be Senate Bill 418.
Thank you, Madam Chair. For the record, Brody Leiser. The final 8 days of session are definitely my favorite. And here we are in ways. And I will say that, we maybe need a little bit more energy in the room. And there ain't no party like a Ways and Means party, because a Ways and Means party don't stop. So let's, so, so the next bill is Senate Bill 418. Senate Bill 418 was presented by Senator Dondero Loop, as well as Tina Lease with the Public Employment Retirement System. It was heard on May 24th. Assembly Bill 418, as introduced, changes the procedure by which the Public Employees Retirement System is required to collect delinquent contributions. The bill specifies the public employer entities that are required to be notified by PERS of delinquent contributions and specifies the source of payment for those delinquent contributions for each type of public employer, including the withholding of payments to local governments, such as school districts and charter schools. On the bill, the Department of Education had submitted a fiscal note indicating a need for a half-time or part-time budget analyst position to track, respond, deduct, and report PERS contributions from the State Education Fund. However, during the bill hearing, the Department of Education did confirm that with the closing actions by the money committees of their budgets, those closing actions included adding a management analyst position, and therefore that they could remove their fiscal note associated with Senate Bill 418. So, Madam Chair, if you wish, the motion here would be do pass.
Thank you so much. Members, any questions? Not seeing any, I'll accept a motion.
Move to do pass.
Second.
We have a motion from Assemblymember Backus, a second from Assemblymember Hadigi. Any discussion on the motion? Not seeing any. All in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? And the motion carries. And we'll assign that floor statement to Assemblymember Torres Fawcett. Moving on to the next bill, Senate Bill 442. Oh, actually, we're gonna come back to this one. Moving on, we'll open the work session for Senate Bill 106.
Thank you, Madam Chair. For the record, Brody Leiser. Senate Bill 106 was presented by Senator Scheibel on May 24th. The bill, as introduced, prohibits the operation of a vessel in excess of a certain speed within 600 feet of the shoreline of Lake Tahoe, revises provision relating to the violation of certain provisions of the Code of Ordinances of the Tahoe Regional Planning Agency, provides a penalty. There was a fiscal note submitted by the Nevada Department of Wildlife of approximately $11,000 to update its Nevada Boating Law Handbook. However, during the bill hearing, Devin Middlebrook of the Tahoe Regional Planning Agency did confirm that if there were additional costs for the Department of Wildlife to do that, that the TRPA would be willing to fund those costs. Therefore, Madam Chair, if you wish, the motion here would be do pass.
Thank you so much. Members, any questions? Not seeing any, I'll accept a motion.
Move to do pass.
Second.
We have a motion from Assemblymember Backus, a second from Assemblymember Hadigi. Any discussion on the motion? Not seeing any. All in favor, please say aye. Aye. Any opposed? And the motion carries. And we'll assign that floor statement to Assemblymember Anderson. Moving on, the next item on our work session agenda will be Senate Bill 87.
Thank you, Madam Chair. Assembly Bill 87, as amended, authorizes a compensation officer appointed by the Director of the Department of Health and Human Services to compensate a medical provider for certain types of forensic medical examination. The bill provides that payments must be made from the fund for the compensation of victims of crime unless there is not sufficient funding to pay for such costs. If insufficient funds are not available, the county in whose jurisdiction the offense was committed shall pay any remaining costs. Additionally, the bill clarifies that the reimbursement for forensic medical examinations must not exceed the rate established by the Department of Health and Human Services. With regards to the fiscal note, there was a fiscal note that was submitted by the Division of Child and Family Services on the bill as introduced, which did indicate that there was no fiscal impact. The division indicates that ongoing funding for the funds for the compensation of victims of crime have been included in the governor's recommended base budget. So these, the funds associated with this bill have been provided. And Madam Chair, there are no recommended amendments associated with this bill, so it would be a do pass as amended. Or excuse me, it's a Senate bill, so it would just be a do pass. Thank you.
Thank you so much. Members, any questions? Not seeing any, I'll accept a motion.
Move to do pass. Second.
We have a motion from Assemblymember Backus, a second from Assemblymember Hadigi. Any discussion on the motion? Not seeing any. All in favor, please say aye. Aye. Any opposed? And the motion carries, and we'll assign that floor statement to Assemblymember Hadigi.
Thank you.
We are going to move into our regular agenda, and we will be taking the bills out of order this morning. The very first bill we're going to start with, because we have someone who's been joining us via Zoom since we kicked off this meeting. So we are going to start with Assembly Bill 471. And we'll invite Assemblymember Hibbets to the table. Assemblymember Hibbets, your phone a friend is actually not in the Zoom room. Can you present this without? She says she's there.
Oh, that's really her on that.
You have the box up.
AVH says there's nobody on there.
Pardon me? Perfect. All right, well then we will move ahead and we will open the hearing for Assembly Bill 471, which revises provisions governing remote sale of certain tobacco products. Good morning.
Good morning, Chair and members of the committee. I am Brian Hibbets, Assembly District 13, presenting Assembly Bill 471. As a quick background, so you know why we're sitting here, currently state law is a little bit gray and ambiguous on whether or not out-of-state retail sellers of cigars and pipe tobacco should be paying the other tobacco product tax. Technically, they should be, but there's no actual way for them to do it. And this bill fixes that by creating a remote retail license for that purpose. And the fiscal side of this is they would then be paying the OTP tax that our in-state sellers also pay, which is a revenue generator. The licensing fee would also be somewhat of a revenue generator. The fiscal note that we're here to talk about is from Taxation, who is currently listed, make sure I'm looking at the right one, that's the amended version, fiscal year 25-26, $347,669, fiscal year 26-27, $390,261, future biennia, $780,522. And that is based on a couple of things. One is IT upgrades, and also that they want to hire 4 additional staff to cover this. The problem with that is there's absolutely no reason for 4 additional staff for this. There's probably not even a need for 1 additional staff. They have indicated that if we give the one shot of $14,000 in order to upgrade the computer system, and then they would like to up the licensing fee to $1,300, that will cover that would remove the fiscal note. I'm not quite positive that it would be constitutional to raise the licensing fee to $1,300, because that would essentially double the licensing fee for one specific license in comparison to all other licenses that are similarly situated. And they're also assuming anywhere between 150 to 300 licensees. In my conversation with my Zuma friend, who is unfortunately in New York, which I do appreciate her being here, she estimates in the first year we are looking at somewhere between 9 and 15 licensees. And these are major corporations that are conducting millions of dollars of business, so it is still a boon to the revenue of this state. However, it is not 150 to 300 licensees that need to be kept track of. So my request would be to deny the raise in the license fee and to give them the one-shot appropriation to upgrade their computer, because obviously they did not budget for that, and we would like them to be able to do that. I will happily stand for any questions.
And if you could introduce your phone a friend, and we can hear from her before we go to questions. Thank you.
I will allow Beth to introduce herself, and she can give her quick little summation. Thank you, Beth.
Yes. Hi, everyone, and thank you so much for allowing me to attend by Zoom today. The timing just made it impossible for me to get there, but Chairman Moreno, I appreciate the moment. My name is Beth Oliva, and I am the outside counsel for both the Cigar Association and the Premium Cigar Coalition. The Cigar Association of America is the largest cigar trade association, and the Premium Cigar Coalition is made up exclusively of these online retailers of cigars and premium and pipe tobacco that we're talking about. And so I will tell you the Premium Cigar Coalition has 7 members, to the point of the number of licensees anticipated here. I would say, to my knowledge, there are at least 3 to 4 more that are not members of the PCC that be licensed, and perhaps 5 to 10 more that aren't on our radar. But this bill, as you heard Assemblymember Hibbets introduce, is simply to solve a problem where I'm going to say law hasn't caught up with technology, right? The Department of Revenue has been an incredible partner as we've drafted this legislation, and recognizing that, unfortunately, the way the current statutes are written, they just don't have the authority to reach these entities from both a constitutional and practical perspective. So what we've done is create a fairly simple bill that just adds this new license type, makes explicit the authority that the department has to collect and remit this tax, and make sure that the tax base is one that the companies can calculate and the Department of Taxation can easily audit. Our goal here is always simplicity. We're not doing anything else to statute. Nothing is being affected with the tax rate, the sunset on the pilot program of the tax cap, anything of that nature. It's simply to give everyone the tools to make sure that these companies have everything they need to be able to comply and collect and remit this tax to the department. And I know time is short today, so I'll stop there and happy to take any questions. We've run this bill successfully in 8 other states, and we have a 9th in Illinois pending this year as well.
Thank you both so much. Members, questions? Assemblymember Bacchus.
Thank you so much, Madam Chair. Thank you, Assemblymember Hibbets and your co-presenter. And I would just like to thank her for touching on it. I was just going to confirm up. It's a little different from our proposed amendment, but looking at the first reprint, I understand that the amendment before us took the proposed amendment from the prior committee and made some cleanup changes. But when you do look at the first reprint, the numbers may have gotten changed around. So on the proposed amendment, I believe it's section 27, and then when I'm looking at the first reprint, it was put in as section 20.5, wherein section 3.3, because we're looking at a more modernized revenue stream for cigars and premium cigars being sold digitally as opposed to out of like a warehouse or however they would be sold in the state of Nevada, would follow the current and existing tax structure that we have for cigars and premium cigars, including the work we did last legislative session, including the sunset, and then both will mirror each other. And that was one of my just concerns. So I thank the sponsor as well as you for your work on making sure the law didn't do something goofy next legislative session. So I think you can confirm that.
Yes, we were very intentional about that. I do think I'll be candid, the way we had presented the bill and how your bill drafters interpreted it, I think made it just a little more confusing there. But no, the intention and I believe the way it is drafted, it is not to be doing any change to what you did last session or a cleanup for next session on that. It should be just the alternate. One is effective until this date, and then the other kicks in at that date.
And thank you. And don't forget to say your name for the record. It's really weird.
Oh, I'm so sorry. I know, I'm so sorry. This is the difference when you're on Zoom versus in person, like I was at your hearing. I'm Beth Oliva, counsel for Cigar Association of America and the Premium Cigar Coalition.
Thank you. And Chair, may I have one more question? And I really appreciate the work on this because I feel like it's going to bring in some revenue, because the reason we did do the sunset was that so we could see, because our goal was to help boost small businesses just because of the competition. Have you had any experience, like how much revenue it's generated? You said it passed in Illinois, but I think that was really recently, but in any other states that this is passed in?
So I'll say this, it depends upon the state, right? And there are many different factors in terms of tax rates, populations, all of those interesting things. We've seen it generate a couple $100,000 to a couple $1 million. It depends upon those different things. In Nevada, I believe the last time I looked at the revenue, I think we were looking around $1 million is what it should generate. Don't hold me to that number because it was a while ago, but I can look at 2024 actual sales and get back to the committee. But yeah, that's usually somewhere in that couple $100,000 to low million range. And to your point, Assemblymember Bacchus, it will help brick and mortars as well because you're equalizing that tax rate.
Thank you so much for the question.
And again, Beth Oliva for the record. Sorry.
Thank you. Assemblymember Anderson.
Thank you, and thank you for this presentation. This is very similar to another bill that we have that has to do with digital goods, and so I want to make sure that I'm understanding Section 6. I think that's the biggest difference between the digital goods proposal and this proposal. So if you could I want to make sure that Section 6, it's on page 6 of the proposed amendment. Is that new language, or was that in the initial language as well, that if there's a remote retail selling, they must be attached to a brick and mortar place as well in the state of Nevada? I just want to make sure I'm understanding that correctly.
They are not supposed to
And
be
don't forget
attached
about
to a
your
brick and
name.
mortar. Sorry, Beth Oliva for the record. They are not supposed to be attached to a brick and mortar location in Nevada. That's somewhat the point of the bill here. The idea is that this is to capture out-of-state entities. I mean, they can be. Some of your in-state entities have online sales, but they would presumably already be registered and collecting and remitting for those sales that occur within Nevada. This is to capture, for instance, most of the companies in this category reside in either Pennsylvania or Florida, because there are no excise taxes on large cigars in those states. And so they can import their inventory, right, tax-free, and then in the states where we've passed this bill, they sell it tax paid. So it's really to get to them. What the department was very concerned, and that's where this language might be looking different, was that for the license, they still have to license a location, right, to issue. And so it's the location that's out of state that's being licensed, that they need to know where the physical inventory is located, things of that nature. It was one of the things that we talked about in detail with them to make sure that, you couldn't be doing it. One of their examples was out of someone's garage, right? That's not what we're getting at here. We're getting at established corporations that all have warehouses with humidors that, but mostly are in Pennsylvania, Florida, and one's in North Carolina. Does that answer your question?
It did. So and thank you very much, because I
Yeah.
wanted to make sure that I was understanding it correctly, that these large corporations, sometimes they are attached to a tobacco industry, but it could be something like Amazon, possibly. I doubt it, but it could be even something else.
No, these are all, these companies are all just only sell tobacco products. They don't sell any
Other
other products.
entities.
Amazon would never allow, these are all, this is their business.
Great. Thank you. Thank you, Chair.
Of course.
Assemblymember Hibbets, we had passed out to us today, Amendment 370, which I believe has already been added to the bill for reprint. Is that correct?
Brian Hibbets for the record. That is correct, Chair. This is I apologize for the messiness of this. The original reprint didn't quite capture what the CAA and taxation had needed, so they just went through the reprint and added a few things. If you look at, I believe it starts on page 9, where the orange highlight is, and then works through there. And this is just a conceptual version of just a little
Okay.
bit of cleanup to the original
Could you
reprint.
do me a favor? Let's walk through the amendment that was handed out. Let us know. I think I can tell from the colors of the ink, but I want to make sure. Walk through what was already approved and accepted that's part of the reprint and what is new, so that the members and our staff understand.
Brian Hibbets for the record. Absolutely, Chair. I'm right there with you on some of this. So if I look at the reprint that was then reprinted and then reprinted again, I'm going to do everything I possibly can to try to remember which color means what.
So if we start on page 4 and let's just go from page 4 on over.
I don't think we really need to worry about the digest. On page 4, the purple strikeouts is, that's one of the things I'm trying to figure out, if this is the language that is deleted in the first amendment, or if it's, and I don't believe it is. I believe everything that you see on page 4 is the original amendment, Amendment 370. And I'll have Ms. Oliva correct me if I'm wrong, because she helped write some of this with taxation to go through.
Yes, I can jump in here if it would be helpful as well, anyone, to go through what we did.
Either one of you that would like to walk through the amendment that
I-
we were handed this morning would be great. That way we can, and we,
Assemblyman-
if we go by
Yep.
page and line number, so we know exactly what was added to the reprint that was it of the bill and
Yes.
what's new today would be ideal.
Assemblymember Hibbets, if it's okay with you, would it be easier for me to maybe go through it?
Well, you have helped write it, so I would imagine it would be.
Okay, very good. Again, this is Beth Oliva for the record. So starting on page 4, at the top, starting at line 2, that was just a note to the drafter to explain why we were making some changes, right? When we had done the original reprint with the Department of Revenue, we decided to make a separate section for this rather than to amend the other tobacco products section. And in doing that, some of the things just got a little lost in translation and how the bill drafter had interpreted that. So some of these are really just cleanups to get it back to the agreed upon language. So that was a note to the drafter in section 2. At line 40, this is where what we were doing is part of the point of this bill is that we want to make sure, because there are constitutional thresholds as to what point the tax can be collected and required to be remitted, we want to make sure that anyone has to be licensed on first sale so that the department can basically watch that sales number. And once they hit the thresholds, already have jurisdiction to require them to collect and remit. This had made it so that you didn't need the license until you hit those thresholds. And we were trying to make sure that the thresholds are only for the actual collection and remittance of the tax, but the license is in order to sell into the state. So that's why this portion was amended here, and you'll see it later, the corresponding section. And just please stop me if I'm looking at the bill and I can't see your faces. So please just stop me if you have a question. On page 6, starting at line 10, this is that point, right? Saying that you get your license, and then when you hit the thresholds, that's when you have to start collecting and remitting the tax. And again, this is what we had agreed upon with the department. So it's just making a technical change that got a bit lost in translation between the draft and the bill drafter.
So section 6 at line 10 is all new language.
It's language that was supposed to be there and written above, just in a way that wasn't what we intended. So it's new language.
Easy answer,
yes, but it's
yes, it's all new language.
Yes.
Thank you. Okay,
Yeah.
go ahead.
Sorry, yes. And then moving down, we removed language at line 27 because, again, it's captured in a different part of the bill. We're not in any way trying to remove a requirement for age verification. That is incredibly, incredibly important to the companies and to the department and to everyone involved here. But it's incorporated above at section 4 at line 14. So it was not needed here at line 27. Again, it's just a technical correction. On page 8, starting at section 10, this is language that the department requested that gives them the exact same penalty provisions that they have on other licenses in this area. So we inserted this. This is all new language at the department's request. So that's page 10 and 11. Oh, page 8 and 9. I'm sorry, page 8 and 9. Looking at the wrong numbers. So all of that red is brand new language that the department requested, but it mirrors the other license types in this category.
Okay. Thank you for that. On our copy, it came out in green. So I have section.
Oh, okay.
No, that's fine. I have section 10, and it goes through
Yes.
subsection A. Well,
Yes, it goes through. Yes, it goes through number 8. Yes.
Okay.
And then goes to section 11.
okay.
And then there are a couple places here that, and I apologize for the formatting. There were a couple, what we're looking at on page 11 is original language from the current statute that in the first reprint, in the first draft of the bill, we had sought to amend, but now we restructured how it was going to be done, if that makes sense. In doing that, there were edits we had made to some of the existing definitions that were not meant to be made in this reprint. They were just holdovers, again, that got missed in the bill drafting. So these specific edits I'm trying to see, on line 17, on page 11, and on page 12 at line 2 to 3, and line 24 and 27 are just, those are agreed changes we had already made with the department, that just in the bill draft switching got missed, I think. And so that's just cleanup in terms of making sure that the right language is still exactly what is currently existing in statute. From there, I believe everything else should just be renumbering of the sections. Yes, everything else is just renumbering of the sections. Is that helpful, hopefully? I know it's messy, and apologies for that.
Messy is a nice way of putting it. I'm going to go to Assembly Member Hadigi.
Thank you, Madam Chair. And I had a couple questions. One of my colleagues asked one of them, but if I could just throw something in there really quick. So on our desk, we have AB 471 in its first reprint. So that was reprinted after amendment number 370 was adopted. Then we have amendment number 370 mocked up with changes. And so just so that I'm clear, instead of mocking up for the first reprint of 471, you mocked up the amendment that was already adopted. Is that correct? Why wouldn't you have mocked up? Yeah, I think for like, if this bill moves forward and work session, Madam Chair, I think what we should do, just to make it easier for the committee, because I think it's very, it would be helpful for us to know exactly what we were looking at. So the new changes in the proposed amendment, if you could mock up Assembly Bill 471 in its first reprint instead of mocking up the amendment. I think that would be helpful for us so that we can actually see the changes, because first reprint has already adopted the amendments in amendment number 370.
Okay, we can do that. I don't have the first, I don't think.
Oh,
I
it's
had the
available
first
online
reprint
on
when we
Atlas.
Okay, it wasn't when we actually worked out the amendment. So apologies, we can do that.
Yeah, I
yes.
think it would just be more helpful for us to be able to see the changes in this new one, because I mean, it'll be just it would be so much cleaner for us to look at. Perfect.
I completely agree. It just wasn't available to me when we were negotiating with the department. So,
Understandable. Okay. And then now to my question, Madam Chair, and Mr. Hibbets, whoever wants to answer this, just so that I'm clear, because I was looking at the fiscal notes online, and I know that there was 2 fiscal notes, and one of them is based off of the first reprint. But do you know the fiscal note that's based off of the first reprint? It's $347,000 in fiscal year 25-26, and then $390,000 in fiscal year 26-27. Do those fiscal notes still stand with the new amendments? And then you mentioned an appropriation too, but I don't see the appropriation listed anywhere. So is the appropriation listed in the amendment you proposed, or if you? And I didn't write down the appropriation, so if you could cover that again.
Thank you for the question. Brian Hibbets for the record. The appropriation is listed at $14,000, and I apologize, I don't have the email sitting in front of me. $14,000 for Category 26 Information Services from the fiscal note. And the rest of it is for personnel, which is the 4 FTEs that, in my opinion, are not needed and should not be funded.
Thank you, Assemblymember Hibbets, and maybe it's me. I don't see where where the appropriation is requested. Like, I can't find it anywhere, and so maybe it's me missing it somewhere.
Brian Hibbets for the record, and we haven't amended to put the appropriation in yet. This was just on Friday, I think, that I've been working on trying to figure out what the numbers actually mean.
Okay. And then, so will the appropriation for $14,000 wipe out the fiscal note, or is that in addition to?
Brian Hibbets for the record. I'm sure taxation will have a different opinion of that, but in my opinion, yes, that would get rid of this fiscal note, because they would have the money to fix or to upgrade their computers, and not have any money for new people, because this particular bill passing would not necessitate that.
Perfect. Thank you, Mr. Hibbets.
Thank you for the questions. And if we have taxation in the room, I'm going to invite you to the table to speak to your fiscal note. Good morning. There's been conversation about the fiscal notes, but also now an appropriation that would be amended into the bill. Can you share with us, first of all, the fiscal note, and then if that appropriation is amended into the bill, how that would affect the fiscal note? Would it affect the fiscal note? All that.
Good morning. Adrienne Roberts-Larson, Deputy Director for Administrative Services for Department of Taxation. I'm going to speak to the positions, and then Deputy Director Joe Bernardi will speak to IT. We have reviewed the first amendment, however, not the second. Based on the testimony that there would be 15 to 30 licensees, the department could possibly reduce the number of positions that we are requesting. However, there will still be a need for positions as we are required for the remote sellers. They'll require investigation and compliance. This is a new tax for the department to administer and to oversee. As for programming, there will still be programming costs.
Joe Bernardi, Deputy Director for the Department of Taxation. Programming costs, we estimated 269 hours each for an IT Pro 3 and an IT Pro 4 for overtime hours to program the tobacco remote sellers into Mint. Oh, and to add to that, sorry, Joe Bernardi again, that doesn't change if there's 15 to 30 sellers or if there's 300 sellers. It stays the same.
So your testimony this morning is that the fiscal note as presented, which would be $347,669 in FY 25-26, and then 26-27, it would be $390,261, and then in future bienniums, $780,522. That would stand as of today as the reprint of the bill. There's no adjustments to the fiscal note.
Again, Adrienne Roberts-Larson, Deputy Director for Taxation, for the record. Yes, that is correct.
And then, hold on one second. And then if the appropriations, I believe Assemblymember Hibbett said that the amendment will ask for an appropriation of $14,000. How would that $14,000 impact the fiscal note? Would it have an impact on your fiscal note?
Again, Adrienne Roberts-Larson, for the record. The amendment actually increased our programming costs by roughly $14,000. So the first fiscal note for just the overtime for programming alone was $30,278, and the First Amendment increased that to $48,666. So a $14,000 appropriation would assist, but it would not cover the programming costs. And again, those would be a one-time programming cost and overtime in FY26, not ongoing in future biennia.
Thank you so much. Assemblymember Hadid. Thank you.
Thank you, Madam Chair. And I just want to clarify. So you said that your fiscal note would remain the same, but you're just speaking to the first reprint. You're not speaking to the first reprint with the additional amendments.
That is correct.
Okay, now if we are speaking to the first reprint with the additional amendments, you said it would reduce your fiscal note because you could cut down on personnel, correct?
Yes, Adrienne Roberts-Larson, for the record. That is correct.
So in the original fiscal note for the first reprint, you said you would need 4 additional positions associated with operating costs, and that's the bulk of the fiscal note. That's over $300,000 in both fiscal years. With the new amendment for the first reprint, how many positions would you need? Because there's currently 4, and you said you could do with less.
Adrienne Roberts-Larson, for the record, we could reduce that down to 2 positions, 1 auditor 2, and 1 compliance investigator 2.
So essentially cutting the fiscal note in
Yes, ma'am.
Okay, thank you. Thank you, Madam Chair. Thank you.
Members, any other questions? Assemblymember Torres Fawcett.
Thank you. And just understanding that this would be a tax that we are currently not collecting, how much revenue would we expect to receive?
Adrienne Roberts Larson for the record. We were unable to determine how much revenue would be coming in at this time, so we submitted as undeterminable.
I apologize. Does Ms. Oliva, and don't forget to state your name for the record, but do you happen to know, about how much these products are, like how much we could anticipate that we would receive as a state?
Beth Oliva for the record. Again, I don't have exact numbers because it's a bit of a back of the napkin math, but usually we look to an idea of 750,000 to $1 million, depending upon, again, seasonal changes, population changes, things of that nature, and the tax rate. But that, depending upon the state, we've seen a couple 100,000 up to a couple million.
Thank you.
I think you would probably be at the lower middle of that range, but based on kind of my instinct of how these things go.
Assemblymember Bacchus.
Thank you, Madam Chair, and I just wanted to help Ms. Olivia out with respect to page 11. When the changes were made, a lot of things got moved around from the amendment that you have before you to the reprint, and so you may see definitions and legal just simply referred to other statutory provisions, so you may be good there. I just wanted to kind of share that with you, and thank you. Thank you, Chair.
Thank you. I look forward to the updated amendment so we can get a better idea of where we're at for the fiscal impact of this bill and potential revenue for the state. Members, if not any other questions, we'll go to testimony. And not seeing any other questions, thank you so much for being here this morning to answer questions. And thank you for your patience on Zoom. I know you've been there for a while. We will open testimony.
My pleasure. Thank you.
Thank you. We'll open testimony in support of Assembly Bill 471. If there's anyone that would like to testify in support of AB 471, I invite you to the table here in Carson City and the table in Las Vegas. And not seeing anyone approach either table, broadcast will go to the phone line and see if we have anyone joining us by phone that would like to testify in support of Assembly Bill 471.
Thank you, Chair. If you would like to testify in support of Assembly Bill 471, please press *9 now to join the queue. Chair, we have no callers in support.
Thank you so much. We will move to opposition. If there's anyone that would like to testify in opposition of Assembly Bill 471, I invite you to the tables here in Carson City and the tables in Las Vegas. And not seeing anyone approach either table, we'll go again to the phone line to see if we have anyone that's joining us by phone that would like to provide testimony in opposition of Assembly Bill 471.
If you would like to testify in opposition to Assembly Bill 471, please press *9 to join the queue. Chair, it appears we have no callers for opposition.
Thank you so much, and we will move to neutral. If there's anyone that would like to provide neutral testimony on Assembly Bill 471, I invite you to the tables. And not seeing anyone approach the table in Carson City or in Las Vegas, we'll go to the phone line one last time to see if there's anyone that would like to provide neutral testimony on Assembly Bill 471.
If you would like to testify in neutral for Assembly Bill 471, please press *9 to join the queue. Chair, we have no callers for neutral testimony.
Thank you so much, and we'll invite the sponsor back to the table to see if there's any closing comments.
Brian Evans for the record. Thank you, Chair. Just the bottom line of this is revenue that the state is not collecting, that it should be collecting, and with this bill will be collecting, and that is increased revenue for our state. Thank you very much.
Thank you so much. And with that, we will close the hearing on Assembly Bill 471. And we will open the hearing on Assembly Bill 221 and invite Assembly Member Edgewood to the table. Good morning.
Good morning, Chair Monroe Moreno, and members of truly the hardest working committee in the Assembly. I'm Dr. Rebecca Edgeworth, and I represent Assembly District 35, which is in Southwest Las Vegas. Thank you for the opportunity to present AB 221. In the interest of being very respectful of your time, I'm going to just very briefly tell you what the problem and the solution are. I'm not going to haul out a bunch of stakeholders who are very anxious to present testimony, but I think you can review what's already in Nellis. Also, very importantly, I'm going to explain to you why this bill has no fiscal note. This bill addresses a very specific subset of dentists who have gotten additional training. They have both an MD, medical doctor, and a DMD, a doctorate in medical dentistry. They perform the exact same in-office procedures as regular dentists, and they're already covered by the dental board in regulation and inspections. Unfortunately, in 2008, you might remember in the news, there was a big Hep C outbreak because of an endoscopy center that was in Las Vegas, and many patients were exposed to possible Hep C. As a result, the Nevada Legislature and the Medical Board of Examiners decided to implement more regulation and inspections appropriately on anybody who was a physician. Unfortunately, it was really never meant to affect the dentists who are already being regulated and inspected by the dental board, but in fact it did. So currently in Nevada, there are only 7 people who are MD DMDs who are choosing to practice as MD DMDs. These 7 people, I know that that's a small number, but they have to spend extra hours on paperwork. They have to pay extra additional inspection fees, and most importantly, they have to shut their practice down for the days that they're getting this extra inspection from the medical board. It's also caused a lot of MD DMDs to not practice with both of their licenses. We estimate that there's dozens in the state of Nevada that aren't able to. They have chosen not to represent that they're MD DMDs because of the additional training. It's also caused a bunch of these trained people to not come to Nevada because it is onerous to do both of this. We're really only one of 2 states in the entire United States that does this to MD DMDs, does double inspections. So all we're trying to do is alleviate the burden by exempting an office of a physician from the double requirement. They have to be practicing only dental procedures, and they have to be already inspected by and regulated by the dental board. I will say that originally there was a very tiny fiscal note, and that was figuring that there were 6 facilities and there was around $1,200 per inspection, and it came out to around $8,000. I am happy to say that DHHS has reconsidered and recalculated, and they figure that the extra manpower in doing the paperwork and going through it and sending people out to do inspections basically ends up with a 0 fiscal note. I'm very happy to say that Richard Whitley and Cody Finney are here if anybody has any questions about how the math works. But it is a 0 fiscal note at this point. With that, I'm happy to answer any questions.
Thank you so much. Before we go to members' questions, we will invite DHHS up to the table just to speak to the fiscal note. I know originally there was a negative revenue fiscal note of $8,925 in each of the fiscal years and nothing in the future bienniums. If you could just speak to the adjustment. I do have an email from the office, but want to get it on the record.
Cody Finney, for the record, I serve as the administrator of the Division of Public and Behavioral Health. And yes, we did reconsider that and determine that we could absorb that reduction, and we do not need any adjustment to the budget related to that. Thank you.
Perfect. Members, any questions for either the agency or Assembly Member Edgeworth? Not seeing any. We appreciate it. We like the word zero in here. We even like better when it's building revenue, but if it doesn't cost us anything, that's great. We'll invite anyone to the table that would like to testify in support of Assembly Bill 221. Not seeing anyone approach the table here in Carson City and no one at the table in Las Vegas. Broadcast, by chance, do we have anyone on the line that would like to provide testimony in support of Assembly Bill 221?
To testify in support of Assembly Bill 221, please press star 9 now to take your place in the queue. Chair, we have no callers for support.
Thank you so much. Then we will move to opposition. If there's anyone that would like to testify in opposition of Assembly Bill 221, I invite you to the tables in Carson City and Las Vegas. And not seeing anyone approach either table, we'll go back to the phone line again and see if there's anyone that would like to provide testimony in opposition of Assembly Bill 221.
To testify in opposition of Assembly Bill 221, please press star 9 to take your place in the queue. Chair, we have no callers in opposition.
Thank you so much, and we will move to neutral. If there's anyone that would like to provide neutral testimony on Assembly Bill 221, I invite you to the tables. And not seeing anyone approach either table in Carson City or Las Vegas, we'll go to the phone line one last time to see if we have anyone joining us that would like to provide neutral testimony on Assembly Bill 221.
To testify in neutral to Assembly Bill 221, please press star 9 now to take your place in the queue. Chair, we have no callers for neutral.
Thank you so much, and we will ask the bill sponsor if you have any closing comments, and she is shaking her head no. So we will close the hearing on Assembly Bill 221. And thank you so much for joining us today. The next bill for our agenda hearings will be Assembly Bill 212, which revises provisions relating to early childhood education. Good morning and welcome to Ways.
Good morning, Madam Chair, members of the committee. For the record, Leslie Pittman, Lesley Pittman. I'm here today on behalf of the Waterford Institute and presenting AB 212 for your fiscal consideration. AB 212 renames the Virtual Early Childhood Family Engagement Pilot Program, removes the pilot from the program in statute, extends the prospective expiration date of the program through the next biennium, and then seeks a $2 million appropriation for the program, and that's included in Section 6. And just as a reminder, the Virtual Early Childhood Family Engagement Program is a kindergarten readiness program that's done at home and has several provisions that speak to eligibility criteria for families to participate. And it is administered through the Department of Welfare and Supportive Services.
Thank you so much. So the bill as written provides a general fund appropriation in each year of the biennium of $1 million to make the pilot, what's a current pilot program, just the removing pilot, and will be the Virtual Early Childhood Family Engagement Program, correct?
That is correct.
Yeah. Members, are there any questions or aren't any other fiscal notes associated with this bill? It's simply the general fund appropriation to continue the program, the existing program. Let's see. Do you have a question? Go ahead.
Thank you, Madam Chair. From everything I've seen, this program has been so helpful. I'm glad to see it becoming permanent and hope we get to fund it. Thank you.
Thank you. Seeing no other questions, I thank you so much for the presentation and your patience this morning. And we will invite to the table.
Thank you.
Anyone who would like to testify in support of Assembly Bill 212. Good morning.
Good morning, Chair and members of the committee. Sheila Bray with the University of Nevada, Reno. We are in support of this program. Our extension service that is throughout the state provides professional development for early childhood educators, and along with our preschool on campus, this is just a great tool to make sure our kids are kindergarten ready and professional development for our professionals in the area. Thank you.
Chair Monroe Moreno, for the record, Leonardo Benavides with UNLV. Just want to echo the sentiments from my colleague from UNR. Happy to be in support. Thank you.
Thank you. Good morning.
Good morning, Madam Chair. Tom Clark on behalf of the Nevada Association of School Boards, the United Way, and the Children's Cabinet. Very much in support of AB 212. Thank you.
Thank you. Not seeing anyone else approach the table here in Carson City and no one at the table in Las Vegas, we will go to our phone line. Do we have anyone joining us by phone that would like to testify in support of Assembly Bill 212?
If you would like to testify in support of Assembly Bill 212, please press star 9 to join the queue. Chair, we have no callers for support.
Thank you so much. Then we will move to opposition. If there's anyone that would like to provide testimony in opposition of Assembly Bill 212, I invite you to the tables here in Carson City and in Las Vegas. And not seeing anyone approach either table, we'll go to the phone line again to see if we have anyone joining us that would like to provide testimony in opposition of Assembly Bill 212.
If you would like to testify in opposition to Assembly Bill 212, please press star 9 to join the queue. Chair, it appears we have no callers for opposition.
Thank you so much. And with that, we will move to neutral. If there's anyone that would like to provide neutral testimony on Assembly Bill 212, I invite you to the tables in Carson City and Las Vegas. And not seeing anyone approach either table, we will go to the phone lines one last time to see if there's anyone who has joined us that would like to provide testimony in the neutral position on Assembly Bill 212.
If you would like to testify in neutral for Assembly Bill 212, please press star 9 to join the queue. Chair, we have no callers choosing to testify in neutral.
Thank you so much. Then we will ask the bill presenter if you have any closing comments. She is shaking her head no, so we will close the hearing on Assembly Bill 212. I'm jumping around the agenda. I'm trying to get people out of the committee room that are not members of Ways. So I'm going to go to AB 336 and hope the presenters of Assembly Bill 336 are here. And that way you don't have to sit out there and wait all day. 336 revises provisions relating to state purchasing. Good morning.
Good morning, Madam Chair and members of the committee. My name is Homa Sayar, first name Homa, last name Sayyar, formerly General Counsel of the Nevada State Purchasing Division of the Department of Administration, currently Deputy Director of the Nevada Department of Indigent Defense Services. I presented this bill in the interim and in government affairs, and Assemblymember Brown May graciously allowed me to continue helping with this one. Very, very briefly, This came from the Interim Committee for Seniors, Veterans, and Adults with Special Needs. It aims to address an issue where there was a veteran preference on procurements that was canceled out by the Nevada-based business preference. And this bill proposes to make them stack. It also addresses the inverse preference, which punishes Nevada businesses out of state when they bid on other government contracts and represents an administrative burden to the state when it is applied here. And everything in Chapter 333 applies to using agencies. So that means these are not just procurements run by Nevada State Purchasing, these are procurements run by agencies for lower dollar contracts. So it represents a pretty big burden. Our fiscal note is 0 from former Administrator Gideon Davis. Nothing has changed on the bill since then. Happy to address any questions you have.
Thank you for the explanation of why this bill is important. Members, do you have any questions? I have a question for you before I go to the members. Would this increase the cost of purchasing or projects to any of the agencies applying for preference in contract awards rather than awarding strictly on the lowest price?
Homa Sayar for the record. Thank you for the question, Madam Chair. What's interesting about state purchasing, we don't just do lowest cost on our awards. It's best value by statute, and that's 333.020. And that includes, other benefits to the state, warranties, other factors that even may come with goods and or services. The reason we don't actually know if this would have a cost or actually most likely save money for the state is because right now with the Nevada-based business preference matching the veterans preference, nobody really applies for the veterans preference, and these are service-connected disabled Nevada veterans. So they don't even disclose that when they bid on contracts. They're just getting the 5% Nevada preference, and what it'll do is if you're between two proposals and that small bit of points or money makes a difference, then it will make a difference. But I would submit, and maybe this is corny, but when we talk about best value, we're also talking about honoring our values as a state, and I think supporting these businesses is incredibly important to our community, and so I would rather be in a situation where maybe we are paying a little bit more, but it's not likely that that's the deciding, the price is the deciding factor.
Thank you, and it's not corny to our values, right? I will pay more money because of the service I receive from an entity, so that is not corny at all. Members, any questions? All right, I am not seeing any. Thank you so much for being here with us this morning, and we will open the testimony in support for Assembly Bill 336 and invite anyone to the table here in Carson City and in Las Vegas if you'd like to testify in support of Assembly Bill 336. Good morning.
Good morning, Chair and committee members. For the record, my name is Andrew LaPelbet. I'm the chairman of the United Veterans Legislative Council for Nevada, representing our nearly 250,000 veterans in our state and the 500,000 when you include their families. We're in support of AB 336, obviously. It's the right thing to do, and it helps correct some of the gaps that we had. So we're looking forward to it. Thank you.
Thank you. And thank you for joining us on Memorial Day. Not seeing anyone at the table in Las Vegas, we will go to our phone line and see if we have anyone joining us by phone that would like to testify in support of Assembly Bill 336.
To testify in support of Assembly Bill 336, please press star 9 now to take your place in the queue. Chair, we have no callers for support.
Thank you so much. We will move to opposition. If we have anyone that would like to testify in opposition of Assembly Bill 336, I invite you to the tables in Carson City and Las Vegas. And not seeing anyone approach either table, we will go back to our phone line. Do we have anyone joining us by phone that would like to testify in opposition of Assembly Bill 336?
To testify in opposition to Assembly Bill 336, please press star 9 now to take your place in the queue. Chair, we have no callers for opposition.
Thank you so much. Then we will move to neutral. If there's anyone that would like to provide neutral testimony on Assembly Bill 336, I invite you to the tables in Carson City and Las Vegas. And not seeing anyone approach either table, we'll go to the phone line one last time to see if there's anyone that would like to provide neutral testimony on Assembly Bill 336.
To testify neutral to Assembly Bill 336, please press star 9 now to take your place in the queue. Chair, we have no callers for neutral.
Thank you so much. We'll ask the bill sponsor if you have any closing remarks, and she is shaking her head no, so we will close the hearing on Assembly Bill 336. She's I see Assemblymember Roth has entered the room, so we will open the hearing for Assembly Bill 467. 467 is a measure which revises provisions relating to forensic mental health. Good morning and welcome to Ways.
Good morning, Chair, Vice Chair, and members of the committee. My name is Erica Roth, and I'm proud to represent Assembly District 24 in Washoe County. I will keep this very brief. Assembly Bill 467 aims to increase access to forensic mental health care. A fiscal note was initially placed on this bill by the Department of Public and Behavioral Health, Child and Family Services. But after discussions, that fiscal note has been removed. And there is one policy amendment that was provided to the committee as well, which was also requested by DPBH, and that's just to bring the language in line with current practices. And with that, I am open for questions.
Thank you. Just a few questions. So the amendment, that is not part of the first reprint. Is that a new amendment after the first reprint?
Eric Roth for the record, Chair, that's correct.
And then while AB 467 authorizes rather than requires DPBH to contract with an organization for mental health services, what would the estimated cost be to the state if DPBH were to enter in such contracts? And if you don't have that answer, I would invite the division to the table to answer it and then to speak to the fiscal note that is now at 0. Good morning again.
Good morning. Cody Finney for the record. I'm the administrator of the Division of Public and Behavioral Health for another 10 days.
You're not looking forward to retirement or anything, are you? Not at all.
Thank you. So we do have an undetermined fiscal note on this bill, and that really was about like you mentioned, the cost of the contract. The beauty of this program and our immense gratitude to Ms. Roth is that we can add some of these services to the existing program that's been so successful that we refer to as jail-based programming, and that can be done at fairly reasonable cost. And so this may, in fact, end up saving the division money and that people will move through the system more quickly. So happy to answer any other questions.
I don't have any other questions, but saving money is almost as good as 0. So members, any questions? Not seeing any. Thank you both for the presentation, and thank you for testifying to the fiscal note and the amendment. And this is the amendment for, just wanted to make sure. All right. We'll invite to the table anyone that is here to testify in support of Assembly Bill 467. Good morning.
Good morning, Chairman Moreno, members of the committee. For the record, my name is Cadence Matijevich, C-A-D-E-N-C-E-M-A-T-I-J-E-V-I-C-H, representing Washoe County, here in support of the bill and to say that we have the same sense that Ms. Finney has based on our experience in Washoe County, that in fact these programs will restore people to competency sooner, thereby saving the state money. We urge your support. Thank you.
Thank you. Not seeing anyone else approach the table here in Carson City and no one at the table in Las Vegas, we will go to our phone and see if we have anyone joining us that would like to testify in support of Assembly Bill 467.
If you would like to testify in support of Assembly Bill 467, please press star 9 now to join the queue. Chair, we have no callers for support testimony.
Thank you so much. We'll move to opposition. If there's anyone that would like to provide testimony in opposition of Assembly Bill 467, I invite you to the tables. And not seeing anyone approach the table in Carson City or in Las Vegas, we'll go again to our phone line to see if there's anyone that would like to provide testimony in opposition of Assembly Bill 467.
If you would like to testify in opposition to Assembly Bill 467, please press star 9 to join the queue. Chair, we have no callers for opposition testimony.
Thank you so much, and we will go to neutral. If there's anyone that would like to provide neutral testimony on Assembly Bill 467, I invite you to the tables here in Carson City and Las Vegas. And not seeing anyone approach either table, we'll go to the phone line one last time to see if there's anyone who has joined us that would like to provide neutral testimony on Assembly Bill 467.
If you would like to testify in neutral for Assembly Bill 467, please press star 9 now to join the queue. Chair, we have no callers for neutral.
Thank you so much. We'll ask the sponsor of the bill if you have any closing remarks, and she is shaking her head no. So with that, we will close the hearing on Assembly Bill 467. And members, I think we can get in one last hearing before we go into recess for caucus and floor. And with that, we will open the hearing on Assembly Bill 514, which makes revisions relating to mental health care. This was a Joint Interim Standing Committee bill. Good morning.
Good morning. Thank you, Chair, Vice Chair, members of the committee. For the record, my name is Tracy Brown May. I am very pleased to present Assembly Bill 514 for your consideration in this committee today. It does really good things. It comes out of the interim committee, the Joint Interim Standing Committee on Health and Human Services. The issue was vetted. I have an expert here, and I'm just going to turn it over to Ann Jensen, if you will, to let you present the measure and the fiscal notes that are attached to it.
Good morning, Madam Chair, committee members. Ann Jensen for the record, Agency Manager at Nevada Medicaid. This provision will allow Medicaid to seek federal approval and reimbursement for what would be rehabilitative behavioral health services to allow short-term, a residential type model for people that are experiencing relatively severe behavioral health needs. Happy to answer any questions on the model itself. For the fiscal, the impact to the state general fund would be $30,000, $800 in fiscal year 26 and $551,899 in fiscal year 27, with an additional $1,722,337 in federal matching funds that would be drawn down over the course of the biennium. With the conceptual amendment provided, the state general fund share would be utilized from the Healthcare Access Fund, as this aligns with the statute, aligning with our general goals of ensuring access to home and community-based behavioral health services. Happy to answer any further questions.
hearing lots of words I love today. Federal matching that brings in even more money than it's affecting the general fund. Members, do you have any questions? Assembly Member Bacchus.
Thank you so much, Madam Chair. And me too, I love when we are able to leverage state dollars to draw down some federal funds. I was just curious because obviously the amount that would be paid from federal Title 19 funds seem to cover the 26-27 biennium, but then looking on the fiscal note that was resubmitted, that was the unsolicited one. I did notice in there was a slightly higher amount for fiscal year 27 of 2.2 million. I take it that the correct amount really is $551,899 for that second fiscal year.
Madam Chair, committee members, and Jensen, for the record, that $551,899 total is correct for the state general fund portion. The reason it's larger in the second year is there would be a effective date of July 1st, 2026, and there's a significant ramp-up period. We're going to need to build these facilities in our state before reimbursement is available. And the federal matching is drawn down when we spend those dollars, so you'll see a higher relative proportion of federal share in that second year of the biennium as well. The small costs in the first fiscal year are related to the system changes that we need to do to begin implementation of this, and that would all be conditional on federal approval.
If I may just add, thank you for the question. Tracy Brown May for the record. What you're seeing in front of you is something that we need to do as a state to help us respond to the Department of Justice settlement. And if we don't put it in the budget, I can imagine and have received indication that we would receive this at Interim Finance Committee for further consideration later on, as it is a necessity for us to comply.
Thank you for that, Assemblymember Bacchus.
Thank you so much for that extra point, Assemblymember Brown May. And then just looking forward, when we're looking at what's required in the future biennia, I assume that's the total sum, and that also there could be federal funds that could draw down that $4.4 million figure as well.
Madam Chair, committee members, and Jensen, for the record, that's correct. The future biennium, we would receive similar matching funds. It's a pretty significant portion of federal matching funds because the majority of people that would be eligible for this treatment would fall into the expansion population, which has a higher federal matching share. So that would be ongoing. It would look fairly similar to the fiscal year 27 breakdown for the future biennium as well. Let me know if that answers your question.
Thank you. Members, any other questions? All right, not seeing any. Thank you both for being here. One had to be, she didn't have a choice. And we will invite to the table anyone that would like to testify in support of Assembly Bill 514. And not seeing anyone approach the table here in Carson City or in Las Vegas, we'll go to the phone line if we have anyone that would like to provide testimony in support of Assembly Bill 514.
To testify in support of Assembly Bill 514, please press star 9 now to take your place in the queue. Chair, we have no callers in support.
Thank you so much. We will move to opposition. If there's anyone that would like to provide testimony in opposition of Assembly Bill 514, I invite you to the tables in Las Vegas and Carson City. And not seeing anyone approach either table, we'll go to the phone lines again to see if we have anyone that would like to testify in opposition of Assembly Bill 514.
To testify in opposition to Assembly Bill 514, please press star 9 now to take your place in the queue. Chair, we have no callers for opposition.
Thank you so much. Then we will move to neutral. If there's anyone that would like to provide neutral testimony on Assembly Bill 514, I invite you to the tables. And not seeing anyone approach the table here in Carson City or in Las Vegas, we will go to the phone line one last time to see if there's anyone that would like to provide neutral testimony on Assembly Bill 514.
To testify in neutral to Assembly Bill 514, please press star 9 to take your place in the queue. Chair, we have no callers for neutral.
Thank you so much. And do you have any closing remarks? And the presenter is shaking her head no. We will close the hearing on Assembly Bill 514. And members, that takes us to almost 11:30, which gives us enough time to make it to caucus, for you to grab lunch and get to floor. The goal, knock on wood, the goal is to be back here in our seats by 3:30. So with that, we are in recess.